Hello and welcome to the third episode of ink drawing and watercolor paintings. In this episode I will show you this painting, this drawing, this cityscape, and so let's start. And because this line work is not finished, and I think I need one more day to finish the line work. For coloring, as I told you before that we will do this, I take this line work here I did 2 days before. This is on Saunders Waterford, so a perfect paper for watercolor. And this one I draw with this tip pen, and now we take watercolor and we will watercolor it. And here you see, maybe you see the guiding lines. I call them guiding lines because they are just some straight lines so that I don't angle the buildings and they look pretty nice, stable, and not falling on one side. So now because when you go over with watercolor you can't remove the lines anymore, so we have to remove it before the color is coming to town. So here you see my case, and I have everything in it, and I have for my own I bought these cases and some of these snaps, and here I have my own color palettes. Then I have this one. Okay, I have this one only for blacks, when I do only a black shading, and this is when here is colored and you can't open it easy. I have to clean it up. But for now I have this color palette with granulated paints. They are with 2 or 3 pigments together, and so you have then these nice colors. And I will use mainly this one. And here I have some basic colors, just normal colors. Okay. Let's switch back to our drawing. So what we need, I think both of the color palettes and some water, and I like to use these travel brushes from Skoda, one bigger one for these larger areas and a smaller one as well. So but first of course we have to angle this drawing so that the watercolor only run in one direction and not up and down when it's flat on the desk. This is a very easy build, but enough for me for these drawings. So in this case I can show you the fog or clouds with white and a little shadow underneath, and the wall, the buildings, and also the blue, indigo maybe, pipe systems, and here we have the antennas. I think we can start with this tall building. Okay, so let's start with a first wash. So this is only water, so that the paint can easily float down and we have no hard edges or something like that. Take this what's called desert brown. Desert brown from Schminke is this color. Desert brown. And I use this palette. Always use enough water so that the paint can run down easily and you have a nice flat drawing painting. So this is the first wash, and because it's in this case wet in wet, I have no hard edges, and we will afterwards do a second wash. So it's okay when it's a little bit lighter here. Okay, and now we get the darker brown. So let's take something light burnt umber with violet. Let's see how it works. That's okay, but a little bit too warm, so I'll take and Shire Grey. I hope this is this one. Shire Grey, yep. And so we have. And as long as this is wet enough, nothing happens. Everything is fine. When it's dry, then the game is over. Then you, of course, you can overpaint, but when you failed, you have to start again. Like me, many times I started again. So, but you see, with this wet in wet, it's a nice. So, and then of course, now let it dry a little bit, and then when it's, we do the shadows here and here in between. Meanwhile, I can do the roof. I also can turn it. Okay, now back to the shadows here. This is Glacier Black. Here you can lift up the color a little bit. Okay. And we need more black here. This is not so large area apart, so that I do I paint on the dry paper. You see, and I think these three towers in the foreground will be much darker. Then here underneath is the fog or the clouds, whatever you want to call this. Watercolor is really not that easy because you really can't correct any mistake. So you have to practice, but for practicing you need as well good paper. Maybe not the highest price paper, but with cheap paper you can do nothing. You can't practice with cheap paper, in my opinion, of course. So let's try here, so we can make the shadow here as well. As you can see here now, I have colored the buildings in the same way I did the towers here, and I also added some antennas here and wires, so that it's not that boring, so there is a little bit more action with the lines. And now we have to color these fog or maybe clouds, and then of course the pipe system and the trees, and then it's finished. Let's start with these clouds. So for this larger area I take the bigger size brush and I will turn the picture upside down. Some bluish black, it's a more glacier black, and also with cobalt blue together I will mix this. Okay, let's start. Let's start here. There's a problem, there are the pipes in between, so it's a little bit tricky, but we will do this right, I hope. Oh, that's nearly too much water. Okay, and here I will do some gradient from dark to light. Also I have to do it very fast so that I don't get hard edges here. So now only water there. And we also have a smaller part on this side. And in the same way we do this one, so I don't flip it upside down, I just try it in this way. Hope it works as well. On a cheaper paper this will dry very fast or go deep into the paper, and then you have this horrible edges, hard edges when you need a gradient here. But here it works, you see, quite well. Okay, now I let this part dry, and then we do, or maybe now, maybe it works still now. Yes, so we darken this a little bit more. It's a good practice when you want to paint clouds over the cityscape as well. Okay, the next will be the pipe system here. So, and therefore I take much more cobalt. cobalt with some maybe with some tundra violet. Let's give them a try, and let's see what happens. So cobalt blue is tundra violet. Also we have the darker side here on the left, and of course underneath. So that your painting doesn't look flat. You always have to decide where are the darker parts and some more the highlights. Yes. And the highlights. So you can lift the color up with clean water. So here I keep some highlights, so they are really paper white. Okay, and then we have the trees. Let's do this. I'll take the color like before, but with some yellow. I have some roofs left here, white, and a little bit of the background. I will fix this in a moment. And also a darker part in the trees. As I mentioned before, if you're a beginner and starting with watercolor, practice, practice, practice. There are many tutorials on YouTube with great colleagues, and they are more on the painting side of watercolor. I'm more on the drawing and only coloring it with watercolor. So it's not a typical watercolor work, but as I said, many other videos for this topic. So more painting and not drawing like you see it here. Okay, here are the trees. I can show this one more here on this clearer part. No problem to keep it very loose, very fast way. Especially we don't have so much time to work with this, with the watercolor, with the paints. Darken it. And maybe a little bit more from this glacier black. So it's very important to angle that, not that high. It's not so important, that's because I can better record it. But it should be angled so that the color don't runs back and make this something like roses or... Okay. I will now finish this other pipe and bushes and trees in the same way, and in a second I show you the final result. And of course we need here a nice ground. I like to do some orange one. Oh, let's do this. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to see you next time. Bye.